Didn't see you there. Welcome to the Jack Laser Show. It's about 12 o'clock at night, and I know you want to hear what I have to say. So, the topic tonight is GMOs, genetically modified organisms. The definition of GMOs is the process of taking genes from one species and forcing it into the DNA of another species that would have never normally met.
GMOs are banned throughout the European Union in most Asian countries, but we are predominantly the only industrialized country that allows them to be sold on in our stores. So the process of GMOs entails taking genes from one species and forcing it into the DNA of another species.
Right.
And this creates huge damage and mutations within the crop or within whatever they're genetically modifying itself. So they're completely unhealthy, and it's just not a feasible option in the long run for our country. So how do you feel about GMOs now that I've told you?
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it.
Same company that made Agent Orange, PCP, DDT is making our food, basically. They're genetically modifying our food. It's all a corporate scheme. They're trying to make money. They're telling...
Okay, so they're selling these genetically modified
exactly.
crops.
They're going to countries like India. They're giving them genetically modified crops. And most of these farmers take out loans to even be able to buy seeds. So, and also, the genetically modified crop in other countries, it's just not a feasible option because they're not strong enough to sustain life. And so when these crops die, the farmers have no net to come back on, and they commit suicide. And this is why there's been over 250,000 cases in India of suicide.
Interesting. I did not know that.
So yeah, GMOs.
That's unacceptable.
Right. So one of our last endeavors in Newport, here with Mr. Swenson, and we're talking GMOs. So Mr. Swenson, do you know what GMOs are?
Yes, I do.
Alright, so genetically modified organisms, how do you feel about that?
I think there might be good reasons to do it. I think there might be some genetic modifications that are helpful and not harmful in the food.
How do you see them as helpful?
I think if you could engineer plants to be, for example, drought resistant, you could expand the range over which plants could be grown. You could increase the amount of food. I think that would be beneficial.
Monsanto, which is the leading genetically modified seed producer, claims that they're drought resistant, but in fact organic plants have been known to not outgrow, but they've been, in times of drought, the organic plants have been able to sustain, whereas the drought-resistant plants have withered.
I think you need to be rigorous and scientific about it. You need to compare them directly.
So, are you aware of the health risks?
I've heard about health concerns. I don't know that there's proof of these things being dangerous.
Very good point. GMOs have been linked to cases of autism. They've been linked to cases of heart disease, liver disease. They've been linked to other various leading diabetes. They've been linked to other various diseases and conditions related in the U.S. And since the introduction in the early 90s of GMOs, Americans with 3 or more chronic diseases has doubled. So how do you feel about that?
I think those are potentially just coincidences.
But I think I for the engineer, for the organic food, but not for the genetic. Maybe I say partially because genetic engineering food, maybe there's some influence, but I think we still need time to understand.
Are you aware of the non-GMO project Verify?
I am not.
Alright, so when you're scrolling through the Stop and Shop next time, you may see a product. And on the product, there's a little butterfly on it, and it's like a little box, usually bottom left-hand corner of the product, and it says, there's a butterfly, and then right next to it says Non-GMO Project Verify. And this is a non-profit organization started in the early 2000s, and it serves as a guide for those shoppers who really are looking for products that they know that have been certified that they're non-GMO. Yeah, so next time you're strolling through the store, you have to look out.
This is the label you look for in stores to know if a product is non-GMO certified or not.
Well, from what you're explaining, it doesn't sound like it's good for everybody. However, I think people are trying to balance feeding a multiplying population and trying to make sure we have enough food. But the problem is if the food is actually hurting us, then it's probably not a good idea.
Well, what's funny about that point is that there's over 1.5 times the amount of food that we need on this planet to feed everyone. And genetically modified crops actually reduce the average yield. So when Monsanto, which is the leading seed provider of genetically modified seeds, he says that, oh, we could double the average yield. Well, no, because from the past 2 decades of research, we've known that they've actually reduced the average yield. So it's just interesting.
I'll look for the butterfly next time I shop then.
Okay, I'm with Mr. Sanford, and we're talking GMOs.
Is Beth Laser, aka Mommy, and she has a master's degree in integrative health and healing, and she is going to talk to us about about the concerns of consuming GMO products.
Hello. The diseases associated with the consumption of genetically modified organisms are inflammatory bowel disease, chronic constipation, gastrointestinal infections, Crohn's disease, gastroesophageal reflux, allergies, autoimmune diseases, heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, thyroid diseases, birth defects, autism, arthritis, lymphoma, and cancers. So I urge you to educate yourself on GMOs. There's plenty of information on the internet. It's in the news nearly every day. With us also to discuss some of the hard scientific evidence that's been found is Ken Laser.
Hi, I'm Ken Laser, Jack's dad. Before I start reading what I wanted to say to you guys, I just wanted to tell you that I actually understand that GMOs in and of itself is a good idea to be able to make a crop that you can grow in arid environments to increase the food supply so that you have food on the table of everybody who wants to eat, which is basically everybody. But the problem is that it's an imperfect science. And I have a unique vantage point because I actually work out of St. Louis, and Monsanto's home base is in St. Louis. So I've been able to talk to some people out there, and they don't understand why there's such a backlash. All they see is the good that was supposed to happen, but in reality, as I said, the science is imperfect and the testing has been imperfect. And because of that, that's why I'm vehemently opposed to GMO products. So I did some research, as I said before, and this is what I came up with. In 2001, there were 2 entities. One was the University of Western Ontario in Canada, and the second group was the PSRAST, which is Physicians and Scientists for Responsible Application of Science and Technology, and they came up with a report. And at the end of the report, what they said was all genetically engineered crops contain bacterial DNA that stimulates the immune system to start a sequence of reactions leading to inflammation, arthritis, and lymphoma. It has been demonstrated DNA is not broken down in the intestinal tract to the extent that was formerly believed. Instead, it enters the bloodstream and increases the risk of these disorders. The evidence supports a moratorium on the consumption of genetically modified crops until genetic consequences are resolved in the lab. So that report was written in 2001, and 12 years later, they still have the same problems. Nothing has been resolved by Monsanto, Dow, or any of the other companies that engineer these products. And it needs to be stopped until they're able to effectively make a product that is safe for humans and animals alike.
So individuals may wonder how GMOs are made, and how exactly are they formed into crops. So scientists mix genes into a plate of millions of cells, and they clone these cells into a plant. And just this process alone just sounds unnatural and just doesn't sound right. After being educated about the consequences of GMOs, one might question how GMOs exactly arrived at our grocery markets. You can thank Michael Taylor, the Deputy Commissioner of Foods of the FDA. Right now, the current policy of the FDA on GMOs was created in 1992, and the policy states that the agency is not aware of any information showing that GMOs are significantly different from their natural counterparts. Therefore, no safety studies are necessary. Now, in 1992, high-ranking FDA officials claimed that there had been an overwhelming consensus within the scientific community that genetically modified foods are safe. But the overwhelming consensus within the FDA scientific staff was exactly the opposite. They believed that not only were GMOs different from their natural counterparts, but they're also dangerous. They believed that GMOs could lead to allergies, toxins, new diseases, nutritional problems, and they foretold this in 1992, more than a decade ago, and we're still facing these same problems today. And they're still wondering, experts are still wondering, why are we seeing a sudden increase in autism? Why is the nutritional value of an apple 10 times less of what it was in the 80s? Well, GMOs are the problem. Now, the FDA scientists that were the first ones in 92 to wave the flag urged their superiors to conduct long-term studies, but their voices were silenced. And who silenced their voices? Why weren't they heard? You can thank Michael Taylor, as I mentioned earlier. Michael Taylor was Monsanto's attorney and later Monsanto's vice president. And he kiboshed the whole idea that GMOs are bad, and he made the policy in 92 which allows GMOs to be made by individual companies with zero regulation. So the biotech companies can just sell a new product without even notifying the FDA or the consumers about the health concerns or about anything with their products, anything involving the products. Over the years, GMOs have not only impacted the human population, but also American big business. Over the years since the introduction of GM corn and soy, the U.S. has lost 99% of both exports to Europe, and the whole European Union has banned GMOs. Same with Japan and South Korea. Actually, they even banned wheat imports altogether after a rogue strand was found in the U.S. What can the consumer do to help our situation? In my mind, the easiest option is just to buy organic. And because when you buy organic, you're voting with your wallet. You're choosing not to support GM crops or GM any variants, because over 70% of the food in supermarkets is traced with GMOs. So it's completely important. And the experts believe that if 5% of the nation goes non-GMO, doesn't support any GMO products, this will create the tipping point of labeling and also banning GMOs altogether, as the European Union did in 1999. Thank you for tuning in health, Jack Laser. Inflammatory bowel disease. I literally can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. Are you still rolling?
Yes.
Alright. Chronic constipation, gastrointestinal infections, Crohn's disease.
Okay, you cannot.
Inflammatory bowel disease, chronic constipation, gastrointestinal infections, Crohn's disease, gastroesophageal reflux, allergies, autoimmune diseases, heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, thyroid disease.
Jack, come on.
Inflammatory bowel disease, chronic constipation, gastroesophageal.
Oh, wait, cut.
Inflammatory. I seriously just can't do it. I can't do it. Inflammatory bowel disease.
All right, we're rolling. Go.
No,
3.
No.